Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar where we're going to take a look at two reports, cell count analysis and the dry cow analysis. So it's going to be kind of 10 minutes long. There will be a movie that will come out tomorrow. So if anybody else on the farm wants to see it, we've got a thing on the email, you'll see go to stage. And if you click there, there's about 45 movies there, all fairly short, and hopefully you find them helpful. So first things we're going to take a look at will be the dashboard, because dashboard is really important. And if you look, you can see that I have a button with the expected calving interval, so I don't really need the graph. So what I'm going to do is pop the somatic cell counts on. You'll see the little cog on the right hand side. This is how you can customize everything. So I'm going to take out expected calving interval and pop in the graph somatic cell counts. And now we can see what's going on. And you can put in obviously what's a good value and what's a bad value. So the first report to take a look at is cell count analysis. So this you can look at after you've read in your data stream. If you go to health and treatments and cell count analysis. Okay.
Are you able to show me which cows have contributed the highest to the cell counts?
Yep. If we left click on any column, it's the same throughout the program, and left click again, we can see that 332 has been a bit of a horror. And we can see that's a somatic cell count on the 3rd of January.
Are we able to see the cow that keeps having the highest cell counts?
Yeah, if you want to see the kind of persistent offenders, what you can do is if you click again and click again, here we can see 37. So out of 10 recordings, on 7 occasions, she was above the threshold. 132 out of 5 recordings in the current lactation, 5 times she's been too high. What you can do if you find a cow like this and you want to dig a little bit deeper, so we can see the current lactation, but I also want to see her history. If I double click, that'll take me straight through to the cow record. And then if we go to milk recordings, here we can see the current lactation, which to be honest is not looking great. And if I go up to here, I can select all lactations, and we can see that this cow unfortunately has been a bit of a problem. It's not just in the current lactation, we've also had problems in the past as well. So back to the report.
Okay. Can you tell me what the colours mean?
Yep. Well, you have thresholds, and with the thresholds you can actually change them. So I'll just show you that. So I've got the cow set at 200 and the heifers at 180. Well, that means that if the cows are above 200, then we consider that to be an issue. So what will happen is if she was below it, as you can see here, 33, then she went super high, because it's above 200, it goes red, and red is a new infection. First, I'll just show you how you can change the threshold so that you customize it for your farm. So as ever, it's properties, go to edit, and I'll just change the first carvers, we'll knock that back to 175. Say okay. The one thing you must remember to do is bottom left, just tick it, save settings, and you'll see that it now recalculates based on that. So to explain the colors again, 1728, she was okay, she was 33, that was in July. She had a new infection, and you can see it's really, really high. We then cured it, that's why it's green. She then was infected again, so she hit 264, and then again, we can see here it goes purple because she was high in October, and she's high in November, so we consider that chronic. And then in January she's high again. So that's the logic really behind the colors. So green is good, red is bad, purple is a chronic offender. Okay, so you can look at the report like this, but there's so much information behind this report. I'll just go fairly steadily and just take you through it. So let's have a look at the graphs. So here we can see a breakdown. We see how many cows are above. There's 10 cows above 500,000. On the left hand side, you can break that down to first calvers, second calvers, and older cows. Then we can see what's happened over the last 2 years. So the red is the cell count for the herd, and the blue line is the percentage of cows on that recording that were above 400,000. So we can see we're doing pretty well really. We had one blip, and that was really in August. This report here, I still like this report, but just to explain it, you have different blocks. So you have a cured block, you have a chronic, and you have new infections. And if I highlight a cow here, so I can see the cow, that's 1831. The reason she's in this block is because she was super high in the recording in November. So if you go to the left axis here, you can see that she was above 950. Then if we look at the horizontal axis, which is the latest recording here, you can see that again, she's really high. So this is a cow basically that's chronically infected. This is why she's in this gap here. These cows here, and again, you just pop the cursor over the top, these are the new infections. Hopefully this is the majority of the herd, but they were low on the previous and low on the current. And then of course we have the good news stories, the ones that we've actually cured. Okay, if we go to the next one, the analysis per milk recording. What I can see here is that on the recording in May, we had a bit of a problem. We can see that we hit 8.3%, and those were new infections. I'll come back to the trend in a second, but if you look here, we see the new infections. So here we can see the problem. So ideally, we want everything below 8%. And our target, we put in a target for kind of top herds, we'd like it to be below 5% on new infections. But we really want everything to be below 8%. If we're below 5%, then we think we're doing a super job. So we can see that we had a blip there and a couple of blips, but we've been below that 5% on these occasions here. And we also have a trend, just to explain this one. So the top line, this is for our cows. So that's the 200 threshold that we put in on the previous screen when we looked at properties. Then I set the first calvers as 175. We then have a target again, and this target is to have everything below 150. And the blue line, this is for the cows. So each recording and the level for the cows, and we then separate out the first calvers so we can see what the first calvers are doing. And the red line, that is the trend over this period of time for the first calvers. The blue line, that's the trend for the cows. So I think this is quite a handy report. If we just go back to the grid, I just want to show you one other report, the summary. So you've got quite a nice breakdown here where we look at the first calvers, second calvers, and the older cows. And again, we've got a breakdown sitting here. I think what a lot of people aren't aware of is that this is actually page one of two reports. And if you go to the last page, so I'm on the top left-hand side, and I'm going to the next page, you'll see then we also have this report as well. And on this one, what it looks at is how many cows were healthy, how many were cured, what the percentage was, and how many were chronic per milk recording, along with the numbers of new infections. So that's the report that we've had there. That's been there for some time, but we've also tried to make this report more graphic to, I think, give you a better overview. So if I just close this one, we'll close this, and we're going to go now to dry off analysis. And if I go to dry off results, on this one, I think the graph is, is quite busy. So just from personal preference, I prefer to look at the grid. And what I can see here is, for example, this is a recording on the 3rd of January. Let me just get this out of the way here. There were 27 cows that had their first milk recording after calving. Of those, 85%, that's 23 cows, were healthy. So what we mean by that is they were below the threshold, that target that we put in, when they were dried off, and they've come in below that target. So no problems. We had one cow, which is 4%, and she was cured. So she finished above the threshold, but she's come in low. And as you can see on this herd, doing a really good job with the chronic. We've only got three chronic cases. And what that means is they were above the threshold, and when they were dried off, and when they had their first recording after calving, again, they were above the threshold. So only 3 cows. And then this is one I think just to look out for. Out of those 27 cows, 3 were new infections. So they finished low, but they've come in high. So then the next logical thing is, okay, which cows were they? Wherever you've got the little blue eye, just click on it, and then you can see the individual cows and the cell count. So 1772 was 226, not too bad, but the other 2 cows were pretty high. So once we have this information, what we can then do is we can start digging a lot deeper. Philip will just explain in a second about the treatments, but I just want to draw your attention to this report. One that I hadn't been looking at a great deal, but now I look whenever I'm looking at data sets. And really what it shows is each dot is a cow, and we expect the majority to have a realized dry period of between, let's say, 40 to 60 days. So that's where we expect the majority of cows to be. Cows like this cow here, she was dry for a lot longer. Well, okay, that's probably an intentional decision. She was dried off early, but I'm always kind of looking for cows that were dried off and didn't attain that sort of realized period. So we've only got 1 cow here, so that's not a major issue, but you can see she was only dry for a few days and she actually came back in with a new infection. So it's really just to make sure that everybody's following the protocols. Cows are being dried off at the correct time, and it's just one to keep an eye on. So we go back now to dry off analysis, and if we go into here, we then have dry off treatments. So Philippa, if you could just say a bit about this report.
Yes, so in this one, so it's looking at your treatments. So we're looking at the moment on this side bit, you can see it's looking at medicine / treatments. So we can see here the animals that were dried off with just Orbisil, and then on the other side here we've got the animals that were dried off with Orbisil and Bovaclox. So when you look at it like this, you can also then go into your dry off results, and then it will show you the support looking at the medicines on this bit. But if we go back one again and then click on treatments only, so then we can see it's now grouping it by the treatment rather than the medicine. So we're looking at the dry cow therapy cows, and then the cows that we use season only on. And then again, if we go back to the draft results tab at the top, it then changes the treatment to just show us dry cow therapy and the season only.
Okay, so on a treatment then, if it's dry cow therapy, you could be using 2 different types of antibiotics perhaps?
Yep.
But then if you want to break it down by the type of antibiotic, that's why we put the medicines
together. Yeah, that's it. So if you want to group them all together, all the antibiotics together, you can do it under dry cow therapy just by doing treatments only. But if you want to break it down by the types of medicine, then you can also do that in there as well.
So then you can see that we got 72% obviously that were healthy, we had 14% cured, and then we had some chronic but no new infections. Can we just go back to dry off results? So I think that was quite interesting. So what you're seeing then is the last 3 somatic cell counts.
Yeah.
The milk yield, obviously, when they were dried off, if that's present, and then the next 3 cell counts after they actually calved.
Yes.
So that's showing really on an individual cow, did we probably get the right thing? And if we want to look at it as the herd, then we go across to the treatments bit.
Yeah, that's it. So let's group them all together, and then here you can then see them on an individual basis.
Okay, right. So we're going to close that. Go back to the dashboard. So there's only 2 reports. Yes, I did go through it fairly quickly. If you have any questions, please give us a call. We're very happy to log onto your program and take you through it and show you what we find. I'm just having a quick look now. We've actually got a lot of people online, so I'm just checking now if we have any questions. So far, so good. No questions. That's good. Okay, there's a really quick survey at the end. It'll take you literally seconds, I promise. If you could fill that out, I really appreciate it, because it gives us an idea of whether it was helpful or not. Next week, we are doing culling analysis. Yeah. If you have any ideas of what you'd like us to cover, please tell us. At the moment, I'm kind of thinking that February is going to be a data correction month. So we'll show you what to do if you have a problem reading the data stream, or CTS reconciliation, or sending births, movements, or deaths. So that's what I'm thinking of, but please come back to us if you have any ideas with webinars that you think will be helpful. So good, we'll speak to you next week when we show you the culling analysis. Any questions, please call the help desk.